In this video, I'm going to show you the most critical element that you can add to your trading that will guarantee success going forward. And that one element is time. I know you may be thinking, well, Pepper, time happens to everybody. No one has any control over it, unless you're one of these guys. And that is absolutely true, because time is the one element that no one talks about, especially not on social media. But no less than Albert Einstein himself said that compound interest is the most powerful force in all of the universe. And what is compound interest other than just time working in your favor? When I was just getting started out in trading, I thought, hey, I'm going to be a day trader because that way I can make my profits quickly and I can see my returns quickly and I can get in and get out and it'll be great and I can just take the rest of the day off. I had this unrealistic expectation of how time works in the trading world. We think of ourselves as merchants and buyers and sellers, which we are, but we delude ourselves sometimes with how much time it takes. I think a better approach would be to see ourselves as farmers. No farmer ever planted today and harvested tomorrow. So within the confines of the trading success formula, which we talk about in this video, the elements that you bring to the table are capital and strategy and discipline, not as necessarily in that order. The one that works across all of those is time, and that yields success. So what does it take as a trader to allow time to do the magic that it can do? Well, unfortunately, it takes more discipline, which fortunately is one of the things that you can bring to the table. We look at that word there, discipline, from the Latin. It's the same root word as discipleship. And think about the journey that the Apostle Paul went on. We've all heard about his conversion on the road to Damascus. And we think, well, Paul wrote almost half of the New Testament. Paul was this amazing preacher and did all of these amazing things. No one remembers that the first thing that happened to him after he had his conversion experience was that he went off and spent 3 years in Damascus being discipled, and then went and spent another 6 years back in Tarsus. So we think he had this amazing experience and immediately went out and started preaching and planting churches. 9 years passed. He spent time developing and honing his skills. And that is something that we aren't allowing ourselves to do. We're putting too much pressure on ourselves to be good and successful too quickly. We are fed this diet of instant gratification in everything we do. And when it bleeds over into our trading, guys, it sets up unrealistic expectations. That's one of the reasons, matter of fact, I believe that is the primary reason for the statistic that we hear that 95% of retail traders fail, is that they go into it, they're being led into it with an unrealistic expectation of how long it's going to take. And when that time expires, they think, well, I haven't been successful yet, I'm going to quit and try something else. You've got to give yourself time as you study and learn and develop this skill. And that requires patience. And there are several different kinds of patience that we as traders have to develop. The good news is that patience in and of itself is also a skill. And we've all heard the statistic that it takes 10,000 hours to master any skill. By the way, that is what we're after here. We are after mastery of discipline, mastery of patience, mastery ultimately of trading, not just the ability to do it, but the ability to have mastered it. So what are the different kinds of patience that lead to allowing time to do its thing? Well, first and foremost, you have to develop learning curve patience. You've got to give yourself enough time to learn. Most people think, well, I'll watch a week or two, if that. I'll binge watch these YouTube videos and then I'll know. Knowing, G.I. Joe used to say knowing is half the battle. Knowing is probably a quarter of the battle. Knowledge and wisdom, one is the accumulation of information. The other one is putting it into practice. Just knowing doesn't do you any good. You have to put that into practice. So give yourself time, develop patience and the discipline to develop patience in your education. It all starts with learning and putting that learning into practice, not production, but practice. The next one's execution patience. Give yourself time to develop what it takes to act on these setups that we see, to get in, get out, to not be making mistakes. Even today, I will still find myself making a mistake, not breaking a rule, but saying, oh, well, I clicked the wrong button. That happens to all of us. You know, these mistakes on execution, or I was reading my indicators and I read that one wrong. The number should have been a 3 instead of an 8, that kind of a thing. developing the execution it takes. That goes hand in hand with learning the skill of trading, but give yourself time to be good at being a trader. Here's another one. This one's a big one. Capital size patience. Very few of us are going to start off with $100,000 in a pure trading account, or $50,000 or $1 million. We're all going to start with some small amount, and that can lead to its own level of discouragement. I'm making $20, $100 a month or whatever it is. You might be making a fantastic return, but if the dollar amount isn't high enough, you're going to think I'm just kidding myself. So allowing your capital, your account size to grow slowly requires an awful lot of patience. And not only that, it requires a lot of courage for you to drown out the noise that are saying you're never going to make it with a $2,000 account. Account size, capital size, patience is absolutely critical, especially in those early years. And yes, I did say years. Remember, we are in this for a long-term trading career, which leads me to the next one, career patience. You say, well, what does that mean? Well, I am in this as a trading career. Now, trading is ultimately just going to be one income stream amongst many as I become that professional family man. But allow yourself time to have the long-term trading career that it's going to take. At some point in your career, you think, well, is it always going to be like this? No, it's not. I mean, I myself trade on cruise control these days. It's open the platform, go click, 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 5 minutes later, shut it down, move on to something else. It's not always going to be the struggle that it is in the beginning. But you are in this for a long-term career, and think of it in terms of years and decades, not in terms of days and weeks. Lastly, system patience. Your system back-tested to, let's say, a 20, 30% return over the course of a year, 2 years, well, you're going to have ups and downs during the course of it. When you look at that equity curve on your backtest chart, every time it dips down and comes back, you say, okay, well, it recovered itself. You're going to have to live through that in real time. Allow yourself the patience to endure through those hard times, leaning on the backtesting, the faith that you built in that. If you're having struggling with that area of leaning on your backtesting and having faith in your system, join us on our Wednesday night live sessions where we're going through the book, Trading with Joy. And part of that is how to develop faith in your system. You know what an amazing fact when it comes to allowing time to do its magic on your account? If you average just 2% a month, just 2% a month, you will double your account in 36 months, just 3 years, and you will double your account doing nothing else. If you add any amount of money to that on a monthly basis, the 36-month point is the point where you start getting back more money than you put in. I'm going to say that again. At 36 months, that is the point where you start getting back more money than you put in. Pepper, why did you repeat that? Imagine a box on the wall, a machine, and you walk up to it and you put $1 into it, and it spits back out $1.25. You put $1 into it, it spits back out $1.50. You would be standing there all day long feeding that machine. Now, if I said, hey, yeah, this machine is going to be fantastic and wonderful, but it's going to take you 3 years to build this machine, are you going to say, well, 3 years, I'm not going to. That's too long amount of time to wait. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go find something else. Or are you going to say, okay, fantastic. I'm going to do whatever it takes for the next 3 years to build this machine so that at the end of 3 years, I can just stand there, bzz, 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 put my $1 in, get my $1.50 out, my $1 in, get my $1.25, or whatever it is. Imagine if you knew for a fact that in 3 years' time with this system, whatever you put into it, you're getting a larger return out of it. Wouldn't you be willing to spend the time to endure the time during those 3 years? Of course you would. Myron Golden has this amazing quote, in 10 years, where would you be if you built a business or whatever? Those 10 years are going to pass whether you like it or not, so you might as well build a business. Those 3 years are going to pass whether or not you build this trading system. So you might as well build that trading system, develop those skills. Time is going to pass no matter what you do. We can't control it. We are not the doctor. But what we can do is we can harness it. Or rather say, we can let it do its magic on our account, on our behalf. So I want to encourage all of you, take a longer term view of your trading career, and allow time to be your partner in this and not your adversary. If you've missed any part of this Trading Success Story series, I encourage you to go back to the first one here and watch it. And with that, guys, I'll see you next week.